Hello, Helen here. Welcome to another card in my Christmas card series for 2017. This card's going to be a Shabby Chic style card with poinsettias that I've made. I always like to put my Shabby Chic cards into a handmade box, so this is one I've made. The card that goes in it is 18.5 by 11.5 centimetres. Just gives a little bit of clearance for any elements that might just slightly hang over. I'm going to be using these two scrapbook papers. One's by Kaisercraft and it's in the Sea Breeze collection called Sea, and it's got on their one side some wood grain paper, and then the other paper is Teresa Collins, which is a Christmas paper called Noel, and I'm going to use the music on this side. One of the elements I'm going to use on this card is a quite detailed chipboard frame that I got from Make It Crafty in Australia. Now you get two in a packet, so I'm just going to use one and going to paint it white. So I'm going to use some artist gesso, just some, doesn't really matter what brand, gesso from an art store. And I'm just going to do a coat of that with one of these sponges and dab it on all over, put it aside to dry, and then I'll do a second coat a bit later, and that can be drying while I'm getting some of the other things ready. I've cut down my wood grain piece of paper to fit just inside the outside edge of my card base, and I've also cut the music paper to be a little bit smaller than that. I've gone around the edges with a distresser and just to rough up the edges a little bit, just like you do with Shabby Chic cards. And I'm going to put some craft foam on the back of the music sheet just to raise it up a little bit, stick down the wood grain paper onto my card base, and then put the music paper on top of that. And my tape runner ran out and I haven't got another one, so I'll have to use double-sided tape for the rest of the sticking down of the music paper. The chipboard frame is now dry. I've made some poinsettias with a Marion Creatable die, exactly how I used the Cherry Lynn dies and made poinsettias for last year's music book card. I'll have that at the end of the video if you want to check that out. I'm not going to show you how to make them this time, it's exactly the same method. In actual fact, I end up decorating the box at the end of the video with some white versions of the red ones that I had on that card. So they're similar but they're just a bigger die. I've also got a bow that I've made with cream ribbon. I've got a metal embellishment of a snowflake that I've ended up covering with foil because it was a very dark colour. I've got some Impression Obsession pine branches that I've cut just out in white. Now they're cut out as 2 parts, and I've ended up trimming them to just have one piece of the pine bow. And then I've got a Marion Creatables holly branch as well, and I've cut several of those out in the white card, and I'm going to just pinch the centre of each leaf with my thumbnails just to give it a little bit of movement and a little bit of dimension. This one, a smaller die, is the one I use for the poinsettias. It's a Marion Creatable die, quite an old one, but there's lots out in the market and they all make a very similar poinsettia, so just whatever you've got. Now I'm going to start adding all the components to the card base that I've got ready. So I'm going to start off with the chipboard frame, put it towards the bottom of the music paper because I'm going to have the poinsettias at the top, so I just want to see a bit more of the frame. I decided to use one of the paper clay frames that I've made with silicone mould, and I've just put a little bit of gold rub-on around the outside of it, and I thought it went quite well with what I was doing, so I'm going to pop that underneath where the flowers are. I'm going to start gluing all the components on now, so I'll start with the frame using some wet glue. I'm going to shape the pine boughs just a little bit with down the centre, just to give them a little bit more dimension as well. For doing the flowers and the leaves, I'm going to use some Aleene's Tacky Glue. It's a really lovely thick glue. Once I've glued the flowers down, I can just poke the leaves, the holly and the other pine boughs around those, leaving the space for where I want to put the frame and the sentiment's going to go. As well as my ribbon bow that I'm going to just tuck towards the bottom of the poinsettias, I decided I was going to tie a string bow that will go with that as well. So I've just got some natural twine here, and I'm going to make a big sort of bow with that just by tying 2 loops and then making it into a bow. I'm going to glue down the paper clay frame, and straight away while the glue's wet I'm going to pop sentiment, the front edge of it, underneath the frame, and I'm shaping the banner of the sentiment just to curve it up and over so that it'll go over the other edge of the frame. I use one of the glue dots that I have that are really sort of squishy and thick for doing behind the sentiment, just to hold it in place. I also use it behind the metal embellishment snowflake, but because it's got a hole in the centre, you do feel the stickiness of the glue dot through that. So I'm going to get a little bit of a bling sort of star shape that I've got and put that into the centre just to cover that. And I end up going back and using the same dots for the string and ribbon bows because I didn't think they were going to just stay on with the glue, so I go back and fix those up. While I'm putting the little star bling embellishment on to the centre of the snowflake, I decided to put a couple more around the card just to kind of tie it in. So that's what I do, just put 2 more on the card. So I'm happy with that now, so that's the card finished. I'm just going to pop it into its box, then decide how I'm going to decorate the box. I've got these poinsettias left over from last year's card making. So I've just got to decide whereabouts I'm going to put it. I think I'll put them at the bottom so it doesn't obstruct the view of the card inside the window. And I've got these leftover pieces of the holly that I broke off when I was putting them behind the main card, so I'll just tuck those in either side of the poinsettias, and that's probably enough decorating of the box. I'm going to leave you with a few photos of the finished card and box. I'll also leave at the end of the video the music book card and also another Christmas card that you might be interested in. Thanks for joining me today. Please give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.